Welcome to this meeting of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor. Thank you all for being here. We'll start with some committee introductions, and then we have one public hearing and several work sessions before us. And we'll start on my left with Representative Collins.
Good afternoon. My name is Alicia Collins. I appreciate you guys being here. I represent the towns of Sydney and Vassalboro in District 61.
My name is Rafael Macias. I represent House District 51, which is Topsom, most of Topsom.
Hi, everybody. I'm Representative Matthew Beck from District 122, part of South Portland.
Amy Rader, District 23, a portion of Bangor.
Mike Tipping, representing Senate District 8 in Penobscot County.
Dick Bradstreet, Senate District 15, Augusta and 5 surrounding communities.
And I'm Marshall Archer. I represent District 129, which is part of Saco.
All right. With that, we'll begin with a public hearing on LD 2169. And I will say that I am Senator Mike Tipping. I'll be presiding over this public hearing today. The purpose of the hearing is to invite testimony from members of the public regarding proposed legislation that is pending before this committee. The committee will hear testimony from persons who wish to speak for, against, or neither for nor against the bills to be heard today. With leave of the chair, committee members may ask questions of any person testifying today. Other questions will not be permitted. Whether or not you testify, you may submit written testimony to the committee. Please be mindful that testimony is public and is available to all once it is presented. Persons testifying at the public hearing today are advised that the hearing is live streamed and may be seen and heard by persons watching online. A recording of the meeting will also be archived. For today's hearing, we'll be taking testimony from people in the room and those who have registered to testify electronically. Pursuant to committee rules, this committee will give members of the public priority when we take testimony. Only the sponsor and co-sponsors of the bill will be recognized before members of the public. We'll take testimony in the following order: those speaking in favor of the bill, those speaking in opposition, and those speaking neither for nor against, but who wish to offer additional information to the committee. If you're in the room and have prepared testimony, please provide 20 copies to our clerk, Eliana Becca. Testimony submitted electronically through the legislature's testimony portal is available by clicking on the committee materials link on the committee's webpage. Concept draft amendments, if submitted, are also available via the link. When you're called upon, I'll ask you to state your name, your place of residence, and the organization you represent, if any. When you introduce yourself, please be sure to indicate how you'd like members to refer to you and address you, including, if you wish, your pronouns and your title. Before I open the hearing to testimony, I'll remind folks in the room once again to mute the audio and microphone of all electronic devices. And for those joining on Zoom, please keep your microphone muted until it's your turn to speak and you are promoted to panelist. I would welcome the committee sponsor, which happens to be myself on this one. So I'll hand it off to my co-chair, Representative Rader.
Thank you very much. And when you're ready, please approach the podium. And I will tell folks who are here to testify on this bill today that we do have a sign-up sheet at the podium that you must sign your name to, and whether you're for or against this legislation. So I'm stalling for time here, sir. And again, we will welcome folks in order of in favor, in opposition, and then neither for nor against. Welcome.
Thank you for remembering the button. All right. Chair Rader, fellow members of the Labor Committee, my name is Mike Tipping. I represent Senate District 8 in Penobscot County. I'd like to present this bill, LD 2169, for your consideration. It makes changes to the provisions of the Maine revised statutes governing disability retirement benefits for state employees and teachers and for participating local districts. The bill increases the amount of income that is considered substantially gainful activity and increases the limit on income a person may earn from employment or gainful activity before the person's disability retirement benefit is reduced. It also removes the distinction between the effect on the reduction of benefits of compensation earned from an employer covered under the disability retirement program and from an employer that is not covered, instead establishing one formula instead of requirements applying to earnings from any employer. The bill also changes the consequences for exceeding earning limitations to a waivable prorated reduction of benefits for 1 year. The new provisions do not include a requirement that a person reimburse the retirement system for any excess payments not deducted by the retirement system as in current law. The bill provides definitions for final annual compensation and substantially gainful activity. The bill removes language that requires, in some cases, that disability retirement benefit payments be reduced by any amount received under the United States Social Security Act. It also changes the formula under the participating local district requirement program for calculating reductions for disability payments under other laws by basing the calculation on average final compensation and not average annual earnings. And I believe you all can tell because I'm simply reading the bill summary. This is a department bill, and these are a series of changes that I think are in line with the past work of this committee. But I would ask any questions on the details be referred to the department.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions for the bill sponsor? Seeing none?
Thank you.
Very much. I note that there are no co-sponsors on this, so our next person will be a representative from the department. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair Tipping, Chair Rader, and the other distinguished members of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor. I am Bill Brown, the Director of Actuarial and Legislative Affairs for the Maine Public Employees Retirement System. Maine PERS supports LD 2169, an act to improve the Public Employees Disability Retirement Program by modifying provisions controlling the reduction of benefits and clarifying terminology. We are here today to provide information and offer any assistance the committee may request regarding this bill. I would also like to thank Senator Tipping for bringing this legislation forward on our behalf. As you know, in addition to the primary service retirement programs, Maine PERS also administers a disability retirement program. Disability Retirement Services serves members who become permanently unable to work but are not yet ready or eligible to start their service retirement benefit. As a form of retirement, it is a unique benefit that has different requirements under Maine law than other government-run disability retirement programs. It is also different than the private insurance that may be purchased to provide some income during a short-term or a long-term illness that prevents someone from working. Public Law 2021, Chapter 277 reformed the process of applying for a disability benefit and improved both the experience of and outcomes for members. In the most recent annual experience survey of program applicants, 96% of the respondents indicated that they were satisfied or very satisfied that they were treated with respect and that the process was fairly conducted. Other recent program improvements include guidance on the definition of earnings, streamlining the annual process for applying earnings limitations, the introduction of a formal waiver process for the annual statement of compensation, relaxing the time period in which an overpayment of benefits must be recovered, removing the continuous service requirement from the standard for pre-existing conditions, and removing the offset for Social Security. 2169 is part of this continuous effort to improve the disability retirement program that consists of practice changes, rulemaking, and legislation like 2169. And another bill proposed by Maine PERS, LD 2145, which would make changes to the workers' compensation offset. I believe that has a work session today as well. Current law sets limits on how much a disability retiree can earn while on disability retirement. These limits are unnecessarily complicated and vary depending on who the employer is. They also have a cost of living mechanism that does not keep up with the actual cost of living increases. Additionally, the consequences under current law for exceeding earnings limitations can create hardships. A retiree who exceeds earning limitations in a year is considered to owe the retirement plan a debt for some or all of the benefits they received that year. LD 2169 seeks to simplify the treatment of disability retiree earnings as well as avoid hardships and negative impacts on disability retirees. Related to earnings limitations, current law sets an amount of earnings above which a member is considered not disabled. This substantially gainful activity amount is defined in current law as 80% of the person's average final compensation, which means that a member can be considered not disabled even though a disability prevents them from earning their full prior income. The goals of LD 2169 are to change the consequences for over-earning from a payback approach to a prospective benefit reduction approach, which can be waived if the over-earning is not expected to continue. Make the earnings limitations less complex and more member favorable. Raise the substantially gainful activity amount from 80% of average final compensation to 100% of the highest of AFC final average annual compensation, or $35,500 in 2026, which would be adjusted by CPIU going forward. Also, to remove caps and delays on cost of living adjustments to earnings limitations and SJ amounts with the by adhering them to CPIU, as I mentioned just now. LD 2169 would not create an unfunded actuarial liability that would have to be funded up front. The changes to the disability retirement program proposed in LD 2169 are intended to make it less likely that a person receiving a disability retirement benefit while also earning income from work will earn more than allowed by Maine law. Actuarially, disability is presumed to be both total and permanent. This means that there are no actuarial assumptions that address recipients of disability retirement benefits earning income from work or leaving the disability retirement program due to earning income from work. Any impacts to the plan due to disability retirement beneficiaries earning income from work will be a small part of much greater gains and losses from other factors that would be reported in the plan's annual evaluations. I've attached to this testimony a crosswalk that details how the many sections of the bill address its aims through the various disability retirement plans and statutes that are administered by Maine PERS. And of course, I'm happy to take your questions and will be present for any work session.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions? Yes, Representative Sobolewski, and if you would mind introducing yourself as well.
Thank you, Representative. I'm Mike Sobolewski. I represent the 73rd District in the Western Mountains, parts of Franklin, Oxford, and Somerset County. Hello again.
Representative.
I haven't read this all the way through. I went through the summary quite a bit. Would you tell me the difference between substantially gainful activity and final annual compensation?
Sure. I'll start there. Final annual compensation is a measure of what you were making at the time you became disabled. It differs from other measures that like average final compensation, which is usually thought of as your high three, but substantially gainful activity is a measure of, it's really the difference between at this point, your average final compensation and the maximum amount that you can make. That you can, the 80% of your average final compensation.
And that's all in wages?
Those are wages and earnings.
All in wages. Thank you.
Any further questions? Yes, Senator.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you once again, Mr. Brown, for being here. A couple of questions. You mentioned it's a unique benefit, the different requirements in the Maine law other than other government. Could you expound upon that a little bit? And also how they differ from the private benefit programs that you mentioned?
Sure, I can try. one of the key distinctions that Maine PERS that is made between Maine PERS disability retirement program is the difference between it and Social Security disability. They have different standards for disability and for reimbursements and contributions. They are, and one is administered by the federal government. There are a lot of differences between the two. And can you please?
Thank you. Would, for instance, police officers be covered under this plan, or is they have a different plan that we're talking, benefits plan?
Let me say both. There are police officers that are covered by Social Security and by the PLD program,
Okay.
and also state police officers, which are covered by the state teacher plan.
Okay. The PLDs, participating local
Yes.
districts, did they picking up the tab on this, and will there be any increases in the amount that they have to do? They have to pay?
Thank you for asking. The PLD advisory committee would need to adopt these changes as well, but they would have the same actuarial experience that was mentioned in my testimony.
Thank you. I understand that no retroactive or UAL
Yes.
considerations, but ongoing, I guess, is what I'm considering. And is this always paid by the employer? 100% the benefit package?
Can you, I'm sorry, now
Well,
can you clarify
this is
that?
a benefit.
Yes.
It currently is a benefit too. Is that paid for completely by the employer? Or is there something deducted from the employee's checks?
Both the PLD plan and the state plan relies on both employer and employee contributions.
Thank you. I think
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Yes, Representative Drinkwater, followed by Representative Sobolewski. And if you would introduce yourself, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Gary Drinkwater, District 27. So let's talk about recoupment of benefit overpayments. As we know, we had quite a fiasco with the Social Security offsets. And now I see that you are proposing changes. Can you just hit that for me?
Sure. The current state is that, and there were changes made last year to mitigate this. The current state is that with overpayments, the retroactive, there are retroactive collections for the year previous in which overpayments were made. What this bill proposes is that Maine PERS won't pursue prior payments. What will be done is if there is if there is overpayment, it will be your benefit, your disability retirement benefit would be reduced by an amount to capture that overpayment in that year for that year.
Also, talk about windfalls. What if I'm on disability and all of a sudden I win the lottery? Is there any penalties for that? Would that affect my disability?
So-called windfalls, lottery, inheritances, things like that are not, those do not affect your disability retirement benefits.
Representative Sobolewski.
Thank you, Representative. Sir, in the summary, it says make changes to the provisions of the Maine revised statutes governing disability retirement benefits for state employees and teachers and for participating local districts. What are those?
So participating local districts are, they're a separate plan that's administered by Maine PERS that offers coverage to government-like institutions, towns, sheriff's departments, police departments, some non-teacher, non-educator school districts.
That's very broad. Does that get narrowed down in any way or?
I am narrowed in so the folks that are covered, your local, say the town of Phillips decides that it wants to offer retirement benefits to the people that work in the town office. The town and the selectmen would go through the process and approve that and join the plan and choose what package of benefits, COLA, non-COLA, things like that, they wish to offer to their employees.
Thank you. Follow up? Thank you. Do you have any projections, any estimates or anything about the fiscal note on this?
So while there will be normal costs going forward, it's not that isn't something that can be estimated at this time, but what I
Okay.
can say is that there are no unfunded actuarial liability costs.
Thank you.
Senator?
Yes, thank you once again. The inadvertent overpayments you talked about, are you talking about just those payments that have already been made, which would not be recoverable if this were to come to pass? Or are we talking about future possible inadvertent overpayments that would not then be able to be collected?
So the changes to how over earnings are treated are on a going forward basis. It sounds slightly confusing because we would talk about the statement of income where someone would report what they earned for the previous year. And then that at this point is what would flag that there had been overpayments made in that prior year. At the moment, that those overpayments would be something that would be recovered. Under this bill, those would not be recovered, but what would be done is that the disability retirement benefit would be reduced for that year by the amount that the expected over earnings, the expected continuing over earnings would be.
Okay, it's still recoverable. It's just by reduction in future benefits until that's been paid off, basically, or rather than
It's-
demanding a payment.
I would say the prior benefits are not recovered. But going forward, benefits are reduced to prevent the over earning.
Thank you. Additional questions? Yes, Senator?
Does the department, main person have any idea how much that might be? Do they have a record of that?
I could say only that, you know what, I can't say off the top of my head. I would want to make sure. Yeah.
Representative Drinkwater, followed by Representative Beck.
Thank you. Under workman's comp, there's a formula that you get like a certain percentage of your income. That way you're not looking at desperation if you don't have savings. Under this program, will they be making like 70% of what they were making? Can you tell us what percentage they will be picking up?
Sure. This bill adheres in that respect to current law. Which is 59% of AFC is the amount of your disability, your original standard disability retirement benefit. So in 1977, the amount was set at 66% and 2/3% based on a legislative study at the time. The view of the people involved in that study was that this was adequate because, there are some and again, I'm quoting this, that there are some expenses that are avoided when you're not working. It wasn't looking at, it was 1977. It wasn't looking at increased medical costs and durable medical equipment, things like that. In 1992, as kind of a cost neutrality measure, the number of 59% was chosen as in reaction to a federal law that eliminated age cutoffs for disability benefits.
Just a quick follow-up, if I may. Workman's comp, from what I understand, is tax-free. Is this disability also tax-free?
No.
Representative Beck?
Thank you, Representative. Thank you, Director Brown, for being here. Let me make sure I understand this. If I'm receiving disability benefits at disability payments that are $200 a month too high for a year, the mistake is discovered, I won't need to pay back that $200 a month, but my $200 a month may be deducted from my future benefits
For the following year under
for the
this.
following year.
Yes.
So it's not, but when it says that may be waived if the overearning is not expected to continue, do you have the option of not recouping those overpayments?
That would be the waiver, yes.
And who makes, what's the process for making that decision?
It would need to be established in rule. But I presume that the bill states that it is at the discretion of the CEO of Maine PERS, and we would need to undergo rulemaking to delineate the exact process.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have additional questions? Yes, Representative Drinkwater?
I want to follow up with what Representative Beck just had to say about the repayment plan. Now, who determines what the repayment plan is? Okay, so I received $2,000 too much. Now, is the payment plan 12 months at 0% interest, or is that going to be negotiated between the parties?
I would want to make sure, I would want to make sure I understand exactly how that is done now and what the
Okay.
proposal would be for that going
For the
forward.
work session, that would be
Yeah,
helpful.
please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Yes, Representative Soboleski.
Thank you, Representative. Sir, also on the summary, it says the bill changes the consequences for exceeding earning limitations in to a waiverable proportionate reduction of benefits for 1 year. How does the waivering process work? Is there a committee or is it just a formula? How does it work to say, we're going to give you a waiver?
So the exact process would need to be undertaken through rulemaking, but as the bill states, the waiver is at the discretion of the CEO.
Okay, so you're going to handle it through rulemaking. That's what you're going to do. That's what you're saying.
The process will be established through rulemaking.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I have one, in terms of the offsets, what would happen if we were to get rid of them completely? Is that something that the department would be in favor of? What's the price tag on that?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on which offsets we're talking about. Last year, this committee repealed the Social Security offset. The existing offset for other benefits, there's the bill that will have a work session later today changes the particulars of that offset. And that was something the department brought forward. And there were suggestions made in testimony on that bill that about the repeal and some other suggestions about that particular offset. If the legislature chooses to repeal offsets or make other changes to this legislation, that is absolutely the legislature's right and purview, and the system will adhere to those and administer them faithfully.
Thank you. Additional questions? Yes, Senator.
Thank you. So the definition of disabled is not changed with this bill. Okay, thank you.
Additional questions? Seeing none.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much for your time. We'll welcome up anyone in the room who wishes to speak in favor. And seeing none. Oh, wait, no, sorry, we were getting some. And I'll just remind folks testifying on Zoom and in the room as well that we do have a 3-minute clock going. If you reach the end of your time, but not the end of your testimony, it's very likely that a committee member will ask you a question such as, will you please finish your testimony?
Good afternoon, Representative Rader and Senator Tipping and members of the Select Committee on Labor. My name is William Lobenstein. I am president of the Maine Association of Retirees, and I'm here today to speak in favor of LD 2169. Maine Association of Retirees represents retired state employees, retired teachers, and other retired public service employees, including those in the PLDs. We have about a little shy of 11,000 members, and to our dismay, our membership has been declining over the years. We seem that people are passing on more quickly than people are joining, which is our problem. Anyway, I won't try to get into the details of 2169. Mr. Brown has already gone into answer many of your questions. And if you've seen this statute and looked at the disability provisions in the Maine PERS statutes, you'll see it's pretty complex. It's a not easy process to go through. But Maine PERS, beginning I think in 2021, introduced some legislation that made some significant changes. Since then, there were a number of rulemakings, and several of those have included stakeholders to improve the whole system for everyone. I think the benefit of 2169 is making some of the offsets that, like Social Security offset, it was eliminated last session, and now you're doing working the same thing in workers' compensation. The other thing that's we thought was important, instead of trying to recoup excess payments prospectively, they're going to be recovered prospectively, which makes it easier for those people receiving benefits. And as explained, and I'm sure will be further explained in a work session, a waiver will be available even then if you can demonstrate, essentially, as we understand it, that you're no longer being overcompensated. Your gainful activity is not going to put you over what is now will be $35,000. The other thing that they did, it hadn't been discussed yet, but you'll be seeing the bill, was the maximum amount you can earn from gainful activity has been substantially raised before they call you in and say, I guess you're not really eligible for benefits anymore. So those things in mind, we think it's important to come in and support this bill and support the work of Maine PERS, and they ought to be congratulated for all the time and effort they put in to try to improve this system.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions? Yes, Senator.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for all your work that you've done over the years. You've brought a lot of insight to this committee. I'm wondering, what do you think about the recovering, the prospective recovering of future overpayments? You have an idea of what's fair and what should be just waived?
Well, that's an interesting point. I don't know that financially that's what Maine PERS will want to do. But I think that by making it only prospective, the person receiving benefits has the chance to come in and demonstrate, if you heard, wait a minute, I'm not making that kind of money anymore. I gave up my other job. So I think it's only fair that I don't have to pay them back anymore. I think this flexibility is important here, and I'm sure that, Becky White will work carefully to make sure this is implemented. So yes, I think it's important. Yeah.
So you think under rulemaking, probably that could be something that's
I
addressed?
think there's going to be there are going to be some more rulemaking. We were fortunate enough to have a meeting with Maine PERS and Becky White, and also Bill and other members help us understand. I'm sure that Susan Halls will tell you, we have not been very active in disability matters that come before the committee, but I think this shows we're going to have to pay more attention because some good things are being done here, and we want to support the work of Maine PERS there.
Thank you. Additional questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Additional folks in the room who wish to testify in favor?
Awesome. Senator Tipping, Representative Rader, and members of the Committee on Labor. I'm Beth White, Director of Politics and Legislation for the Maine Service Employees Association, Local 1989 of the Service Employees International Union. We're a labor union representing over 13,000 Maine workers, including retirees, workers across all three branches of state government, and retired state employees. Nice to be before this committee for the first time in this half of the session. So I will keep my testimony short because I think the technical details were covered quite well by the Maine PERS organizational testimony. But we're here today in support of LD 2169, which would make improvements to the Maine PERS disability retirement program. And we would like to thank Maine PERS for bringing this legislation forward and for reaching out to us ahead of session to explain the changes that they are proposing, though that does not mean I can explain them super well to you all. But we believe strongly that making these changes will benefit our members and other Maine PERS recipients who are receiving disability retirement in a variety of ways, including by removing disincentives for returning to work, especially in state service, while on disability retirement. The changes proposed in this legislation are beneficial to both Maine PERS members receiving disability retirement and the system as a whole, in our opinion. So we're asking the committee to please support LD 2169. Thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions? Seeing none, thank you
Great.
very much. Additional
you.
folks who wish to testify in favor?
Good afternoon, Senator Tipping, Representative Rader, the other esteemed members of the Labor Committee. My name is Michael Scott. I live and work in the city of Auburn. As the president of the Professional Firefighters of Maine, we represent roughly 1,300 first responders and their families across the state of Maine. I come here today to testify in support of LD 2169. I want to speak to you as someone who's seen the reality of what happens when a career in public safety, a job that defines who you are, must end earlier than expected. We become firefighters because we are driven for service, purpose, and action. Our work is not just a paycheck. It's gainful activity in the deepest sense, physical, mental, and emotional. Day in, day out, we train, we respond, we push ourselves because we want to make a difference. Being active in this work gives us identity, structure, pride, and community. When an injury or illness forces us off the job early, even when we still want to serve, it can feel like losing a piece of ourselves. We don't just lose the ability to do tasks, we lose the role we've built our lives around. We lose the chance to contribute in every way we were trained to contribute. And too often, we lose financial stability while we're trying to rebuild what's left of our lives. We want to work when we can. Most of us want to remain productive members of our community after the injury. So we should not be penalized for it financially or emotionally. A clearer, fairer retirement system will let someone live with dignity, pursue gainful activity when possible, and retain a sense of purpose, even after their firefighting career is cut short. Imagine dedicating years to serve your community, answering calls, training every shift, building trust with your team, only to be told that your best efforts to stay active after disability will reduce the very benefits meant to protect you. That sends the wrong message about how we value public safety service LD 2169 helps correct that. It brings clarity so that firefighters and first responders know what to expect. It prevents unintended reductions that strip away not only financial security, but a sense of personal worth. And it respects the reality that when you've given your body and heart to service, your identity doesn't just turn off because you leave the job. I urge you to support LD 2169 and help ensure that Maine values not only the work we do, but the lives we continue to live after the work is no longer possible. Thank you for your time, and I'd be pleased to address any questions you may have.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions? Seeing none. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for your time. Additional folks in the room who wish to testify in favor? Seeing none, we will go online to Gerard Conley. Welcome, Mr. Conley. We can see you and we can hear you. I will be starting a clock for 3 minutes as soon as you begin.
Of course, and thank you very much. I am not very tech savvy, and so I thought I was limited to a webinar appearance. So very happy to join the committee. Senator Tipping, Representative Roeder, members of the Committee on Labor. My name is Jerry Conley, and I live at 71 Austin Street in Portland. I'm an attorney in Portland, and I've been practicing for 45 years. One of my specialties happens to be handling disability cases for members of Maine PERS. First, I'm proud to say that 35 years ago, I was a second senator on this very important committee, and I'm sorry that the Zoom session prevents me from meeting my duty of bringing a gift, which of course we know is tradition. But I'm still very, very happy to appear here. As was mentioned earlier, in 2021 by Attorney Lobenstein, there were many changes made in the law and rules applying to disability cases for Maine PERS members. It was the beginning of a kinder, gentler Maine PERS and led to many disabled members being able to win their disability cases. And this committee played an incredibly important role in those changes. One of the most important changes was the abolishment of the Systems Medical Board, which was really responsible for denying so many disability claims. If you ask the system, they tell you there are far fewer disability cases going to litigation because the system actually does approve deserving people. And I give the credit, great credit for changing their ways. You've already heard from the systems representative the technical changes that are being proposed here. I would just strongly urge the committee to adopt these changes and to send it on to the chambers for approval and finally to the governor for her signature. I cannot give the system enough credit for the way it has changed over the last several years. And I give Mike Collar and General Counsel for the system credit for involving all stakeholders in many changes that have occurred since the Bellwether bill in 2021. So thank you very much for letting me weigh in here in favor of this legislation. I am here and happy to answer any questions. I also appreciate being able to testify by Zoom. Thank you so much for hearing from me.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions? Seeing none, we appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And Ms. Becca, if we could bring over Jan Kaczynski.
Senator Tipping, Representative Rader, other esteemed members of the Labor Committee, Jan Kaczynski, here on behalf of the Maine Education Association, wanted to offer our testimony in support of LD 2169. MEA represents 24,000 educators in our state, including teachers and other professionals, and EdTech 2s and 3s, all of which are in the Maine PERS system. And I'm going to echo a couple of the comments I heard already. I've submitted my official testimony as well. It was about 6, 8, 10 years ago, we started hearing from members, much like Jerry Conley just shared, about some really unfortunate stories about the short-term disability program. People were being denied, we think unfairly. The program wasn't objective. It lacked transparency and accountability. Though then there were, I think it was only Senator Bradstreet and Representative Drinkwater who were here, because there were a series of bills that finally resulted in 2021 in LD 1644 being passed into law by Senator Miramon, who was a member of this committee, who both understood these concerns, largely because he had a constituent who was negatively impacted. But I can confidently report today that since this bill became law, we have seen a marked difference in the way the system handles these cases, and in a way that is humane and is beneficial to working people. We think the system is more fair, more impartial, and more objective than anything we experienced prior to 2021. It's not perfect, and there's certainly members and teachers who feel aggrieved by the system, but it's far different from what we experienced before. And I would like to credit the leadership of Maine PERS then and now for helping to make that happen. And I think the bill before you, I appreciate the staff at Maine PERS reaching out, talking to us, and walking us through it. We have reviewed it. We think all of the pieces of it are beneficial. We think they're better. We think these are small changes that might not seem huge to you unless you're impacted. And two questions I heard that I just want to respond to. First and foremost, I think this is a question from Senator Bradstreet. Teachers and ed techs pay 7.65% of their pay into this program. School boards are paying about 4%. So this is part of their overall program, which still has gaps in coverage. And keep in mind, if they were in Social Security, they'd be paying 6.2% for a more robust disability program than what we have here through Maine PERS. The second was the recoup of benefit over payments is one of the elements of this bill that I find most humane. If you're on disability, you're probably barely making ends meet. You're probably living in a lot of pain. The last thing you want to hear is that your payments were too much and now they're going to take it all back away from you and they're going to do so in the next year. That's probably the last thing you want to hear. This is a more humane policy, which the Maine PERS has come forward with to not go back retroactively, but instead a prospective approach, and we appreciate that. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. We support this. We support the efforts of Maine PERS to bring some much needed transparency, accountability, oversight to this program. Thank you for your time, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions? Seeing none, we appreciate your time. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Last call for anyone in the room or on Zoom wishing to testify in favor. Seeing none, we will move to those opposed. Welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeanette Crossman, and I live in Lisbon Falls. I will be presenting the testimony of Mark Evers of Millinocket, who is unable to be here today. His written testimony was posted online yesterday, so the committee should already have it. Dear members of the Labor Committee, my name is Mark Evers. I live in Millinocket, where I worked as a firefighter paramedic for nearly 30 years. I became a Maine PERS disabled retiree after I was injured on the job and forced to retire in July 2022. I'm testifying against LD 2169. I want to focus on sections 11, 12, 25, and 26, which deal with the Maine PERS workers' compensation offset. As someone who had to live through offsets and benefits that have been reduced due to the people responsible for your benefits trying to get out of their obligations, I can tell you that it makes life very difficult. It takes you from a point where you can earn the things that you want before disability to being capped off on your income with no way to move forward after a injury disables you. Not only are you capped off at a low income, but you have increased expenditures due to medical costs. You no longer have the ability to do the things that you would do for yourself that now require you to hire somebody or rely on family. The financial burden resulting from my injury also caused family problems and stress that is unneeded and unnecessary. MainePERS last remaining disability benefit offset, the workers' compensation offset, should be repealed. MainePERS should just pay what they agreed to pay, the percentage benefit they were paid to provide those with the misfortune of acquiring a career-ending disability. Stop financially punishing those whose disability resulted from a work injury. I urge the committee to just repeal the workers' compensation offset in sections 12 and 26, but please also add a bill section directing MainePERS to restore current disabled retirees to a full monthly disability benefit without offsets effective January 2026. Thank you for your consideration of this legislation proposed by the system.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
And do we have any questions? Seeing none. Those in the room who wish to testify in opposition?
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Senator Tipping, Representative Rader, members of the committee. My name is Sue Hawes. I live in Portland. My husband has been a MainePERS disability retiree since 2018 and will remain in the program until 2040, when the retirement law converts him to regular service retirement at age 70. My husband and daughter are with me today. I hope that you'll have a moment after the hearing to meet with them. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in opposition to the system's bill, LD 2169. After analysis, one of the most consequential decisions MainePERS can make that a disabled retiree is able to earn their substantially gainful activity and determined by MainePERS as no longer disabled and therefore no longer eligible remains a harmful practice at the program, which will be codified into law if this bill is not amended, as I describe in my second document. Unfortunately, as written, LD 2169 falls short of the promises MainePERS made in its proposed disability enhancements document provided to the board by staff in November 2025 and only entrenches harmful, substantial gainful activity decision-making. Let's look at the difference between what was promised and what is in the bill. MainePERS committed to making no retroactive overpayments. Benefit overpayments are not recouped, it says. Benefit payments are reduced prospectively. All the bill does is increase earning limitations and change how deductions are made to be less severe. It does nothing to stop the harm of how they're making the decision that you are no longer disabled. You have earnings which meet your substantially gainful activity amount. That is the fiduciary decision of the employees at MainePERS. Another commitment, they're going to encourage return to work by removing disincentives. They promised return to work would be encouraged by eliminating penalties and adjusting benefits prospectively. LD 2169 fails. It treats minimal earnings and potential earnings as evidence of not disabled. It reduces and terminates benefits without proving actual work capacity. And it retroactively reduces benefits by amounts deducted over the following year. That is not prospective. And in this document, I do suggest statutory language to help facilitate the committee fixing this bill. Commitment number 3, they're going to simplify eligibility determinations, make it more fair. They said eligibility reviews would focus on whether the retiree is engaging or could engage in substantially gainful activity, no longer just on medical diagnoses alone. 2169 fails. It never defines how work capacity is determined. And that is the crux of my issue. It allows staff to infer from perceived medical recovery, earnings or potential earnings, assumed job availability, labor market data. They are not required until this committee tells them to actually confirm they have the capacity to work.
And we are at time if you want to summarize the rest of your testimony.
I urge the committee not to squander this opportunity, to apply oversight and refuse to codify the harmful practices as they've been occurring for decades. I have numerous board decisions if you'd like. Please protect my husband and others like him who will never have work capacity. And listen with great weight to the voices of the disabled and their experiences and the impact of your oversight and your guidance to the system through this bill. Thank you for your attention to these matters so vital to the well-being and financial security of Maine's public disabled employees. I appreciate all the committee has done so far to ensure MainePERS provides the suitable disability benefits as the legislature intended when it created the system. And as always, I'm happy to help the committee in any way I can, and I will do my best to be available at the work session.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Yes, Senator.
Thank you. So good to see you again.
Thank
So
you.
your agreement that the direction that the efforts are is in the right direction, but you don't agree that the scope is broad enough.
The loosening of the severity of the financial is good. However, this bill will entrench and codify the decision-making of an employee at MainePERS when he does an eligibility review of the disabled retiree, requests medical records, right, past 2 years, and then apparently contract with a vocation person to look at the person's education and find jobs. Nobody ever has a vocational exam to determine they actually have capacity to even job search.
Thank you. So you're saying there are paths to address those in existence. There are paths that are available.
I have
By
suggested
amendment.
statutory language in this document that would basically allow the committee to give that guidance to MainePERS that they cannot make decisions based on an untrained employee looking at
Okay.
pieces of information
Good, good.
that
Okay.
lack a vocational evaluation.
Yeah. Thank you.
Additional questions? Yes, Representative Beck.
Thank you, Representative. Thank you, Ms. Hawes, for being here again. Are you aware of other states whose practice for return to work after disability closely matches or resembles what you think would be ideal?
I really appreciate that question, and as part of what I'm providing you, I talk about my husband. So I'm not familiar with other states' programs, but he was in Social Security Disability when he was hired as a corrections officer. So he basically realized he hadn't had any seizures in 2 years, said one day, hey, I'm going to go get a job. And I said, great, go be a corrections officer. You'll rock it. And he did for 11 years. But when we called Social Security and said, hey, you know, he's got a job now, expecting them to just, they were like, no, you know, he's welcome to go do that, but they'll keep paying him for 12 months so that if something happens, he can just, you know, he doesn't have to go through any red tape. So I was like, I saved that money because I was so fearful that it would be clawed back. But at the end of the day, it was that support, that security that made it possible for him to make the step out of disability. You really have to remember there's a continuum of people. You know, there's some folks that are never going to have capacity. There's other folks that it's going to just be a blip and they're going to go out and they're going to find a job despite their disability. And then all the people in between are what are being hurt by their harmful practices that I'm hoping that the committee will address with the language I provide. Does that help?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Do we have other folks in the room who wish to testify in opposition? Seeing none, and we have no one testifying in opposition online, correct? Is anyone in the room who wishes to testify neither for nor against, but provide additional information? Seeing none, do we still have Elizabeth O'Connor? Please bring her over. Thank you. Welcome, Ms. O'Connor, and you may begin when you are ready.
Hello, excuse me. I also think I might be in the wrong situation here. I am in opposition. Does that make a difference?
At this point, no. You may continue onward. Thank you.
Thank you all. Good afternoon, Senator Tipping, Representative Rader, and to all the honorable members of the Labor Committee. My name's Elizabeth O'Connor. I live in Springvale, and I have the honor today of presenting to the committee the testimony of Larry McAfee, who is unable to be here today. His testimony has been uploaded online. Okay, my name is Larry McAfee. I live in Littleton, Maine, and I worked for the Holton School for 2 decades. I have been a Maine PERS disabled retiree since a workplace injury forced me into disability retirement about 2012 at the age of 49. I struggle every day trying to do things. Since becoming disabled, money has mostly been very tight. It has been hard to deal with any vehicle or home repairs. My medications cost hundreds of dollars monthly. My wife has to do all the work around the house that I used to be able to do. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in opposition to LD 2169. As I stated under LD 2145 last week, while I am for reforming the disability program, I'm against the details in the systems bill which preserve the workers' comp offset. I again urge the committee to amend the bills and completely remove the Maine PERS workers' comp offset from the Maine PERS disability retirement program laws. No more offsets in the disability program. And secondly, whatever is done favorably for disabled retirees, please amend the systems bill to include me and others currently disabled retirees, not just applicants in the future. I need any available adjustments made to my benefit, which is reduced due to my workers' comp settlement 3 years ago, money that is mostly now gone. My workers' comp settlement required me to waive my rights to any future claims against the Holton school system. Having the bad luck of being an injured worker and permanently disabled by that injury, I shouldn't be penalized by Maine PERS and denied the 59% disability benefit I and my employer paid for. I need every penny of my 59% Maine PERS disability benefit. The only other income I receive is SSDI at about $1,200 a month. It would mean a lot to increase my income by eliminating the workers' comp offset for current and future disabled retirees. Thank you all for the attention to this bill, which, if amended by the committee, could help me and my family extremely. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. And we understand that you're presenting the testimony of someone else, but I'm going to ask the committee if they have any questions of you anyway. Seeing none, thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Last call for anyone in the room or online to testify on LD 2169. Seeing none, I will close this public hearing and hand the gavel back.
Thank you. And we'll take just a moment as we reconfigure the room for our work sessions here.
Very articulate.
Thank you so much.
All right, I'd like to welcome our analyst, Mr. Langland. And we have, I believe, 4 bills in front of us. Is there any grouping or order you'd prefer? If not, we'll go in order here.
No.
Beginning with LD 2022.
So Eliana will be handing around a blue bill analysis. LD 2022 is sponsored by Representative Rader on behalf of the Maine Public Employees Retirement System. It's an act to clarify the setting of group life insurance coverage levels under Maine PERS. So what the bill does is it changes a statutory definition of the word annual based compensation, which is used in group life insurance in PLDs or participating local districts, as well as in the state employees and teachers plan. And I did attach, actually, you'll notice this one was actually, we had a mishap with the stapler, so it's a little funky. We stapled it at the bottom left instead of the top left, but you know what? I figured it's still legible, so I kept it. So we're saving trees, one analysis at a time. So I did attach sort of the statutory uses of that word so you can see it if you can navigate this little funky packet. So the bill changes the source of information that's used to set the group life insurance coverage levels. So the way it works is the amount of group life insurance coverage is based on the annual base compensation rounded to the nearest $1,000. Current law sets that amount based on gross compensation as reported on the member's W-2 form, which pretty timely that we're doing this. I just got my W-2 yesterday. Since the W-2 form does not have a box for gross compensation, there's been confusion and inconsistency among employers who have to report changes in coverage levels each April 1st. So the bill makes it so that instead of using the gross compensation from the W-2 form, it replaces that with earnable compensation, which is a definition that's already defined in statute. and it's information that's already reported to Maine PERS by employers for retirement benefit purposes. We did receive preliminary fiscal information, which is not something that I always get to share with you, but that is attached. There is a minor cost increase to the general fund. Any additional costs to Maine PERS are expected to be minor and can be absorbed within existing budgeted resources. I'm happy to try to answer any questions, as well as we still have Mr. Brown here with us, who's probably can answer more specific questions.
Great, and we had no testimony against this one, right?
I don't recall any.
Okay. Are there questions for Mr. Langland from committee members? Does anyone have any questions they'd like to ask of Maine PERS? Senator Bradstreet does, so we'll welcome Mr. Brown up.
Hi, Bill Brown, Maine PERS.
Yeah, thank you. So there's nothing really substantive about the bill. It's more of a making things consistent with whatever IRS puts out.
What the bill does is it just changes the source of the information used to set the group life insurance coverage level.
All right, pretty straightforward. Seeing no other questions, I think we can move on to the next piece of legislation.
So the next one in my pile is 2067. Eliana will be handing around a blue sheet. LD 2067 is sponsored by Senator Tipping. It's an act to include certain community mental health workers under the 1998 Special Plan for Retirement. So as drafted, the bill adds to the 1998 Special Plan under Maine PERS, DHHS employees who provide crisis outreach and crisis services to adults with developmental disabilities or intellectual disabilities in a community-based or residential setting who were mental health 3 workers before July 1st of 2021 and are community response workers as of July 1st, 2021. So just as a reminder for the committee, in the 1998 Special Plan, a member can retire one of 2 ways, and that is by accruing 25 years of service in a covered capacity or by accruing 10 years under the 1998 Special Plan and attaining age 55 or greater. Some issues that the committee might want to consider, if the intent is to cover all community response workers, current and future, it's not clear to me that the bill as drafted would do that. The committee might want to consider amending the bill to either get rid of the italicized language that I have noted below, or alternatively, on the backside of the sheet, the committee might want to consider potentially adding in the title of the a group that it hopes to include in the 1998 Special Plan, or potentially even some combination thereof. So you could have a situation where it could read persons in the employment of the Department of Health and Human Services on August 1st, 2026 or hired thereafter, who provide crisis outreach and crisis services to adults with developmental disabilities or intellectual disabilities in a community-based or residential setting, or have the job classification of community response worker or something to that effect. We can workshop that language as long as, I know what the committee's intent is. I'm happy to work with the retirement system. The other thing that I wanted to flag for the committee is that it was drafted in a rather strange way, so that it would be sort of retroactive in an unusual way. So if you look at on the backside, part of the shading said on October 1st, 2025. Typically what happens is when we're drafting the 1998 Special Plan language, we would choose a date that is hopefully well after adjournment, and say that if you are in that position on or after that day, then you are in the 1998 Special Plan. So I recommend the committee choose a date such as maybe August 1st, assuming statutory adjournment is April 15th, 90 days after that would be probably July 15th, but we'll give a little buffer room just in case things don't go great. And August 1st should be safe. We don't yet have, or at least I don't yet have any numbers on how much this will cost, but because there are greater benefits, there will be a UAL cost. I'm happy to try to answer any questions.
All right, I wonder if we could have Mr. Brown join us again here, and then I would ask if there are questions of committee members.
Good afternoon again, Bill Brown, Maine Purse.
And not seeing any from other members, I'll just say for the purpose of clarification of the title language that was discussed here. Sounds like we may have arrived at a solution that works here, referencing the current title as well as the description currently used in the bill. And it's in the area that is not highlighted in the recommended drafting change for clarity section of the bill analysis. And with the intent being that we capture those who are currently doing this work without excluding anyone who may be doing the work in the future, regardless of title. Is that everyone's understanding?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions from committee members? Senator Bradstreet.
Would we be able to get a UAL figure on this fairly soon?
Yes, absolutely. I think once the committee arrives at a decision, we'll be able to, or an intention as to who is included, we'll be able to handle that. Yes.
Do you have any initial estimate based on the math you've done for previous bills here?
I would caution the committee against using
Fair
older
enough,
estimates.
yeah. All right, despite my best efforts. Are there questions from committee members? Any discussion on this bill? Senator Bradstreet?
Are you asking any more discussion or?
I was asking if there was discussion and then you moved your hand, and so I don't always
Okay,
understand
I
what the
hand out a
interpretation is.
reaction.
Yeah.
Okay, we'd probably like a caucus at some point in time, but not right now. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, seeing nothing else, we will move on to our next bill, which I believe is 2085.
So LD 2085 is sponsored by Representative Bunker on behalf of the Department of Public Safety. LD 2085 is an act to modify service retirement provisions to include additional emergency communications positions in the 1998 special plan. So by way of background, in 2021, there was a biennial budget and it included specific dispatcher positions within the Department of Public Safety in the 1998 special plan. And the law specified those exact positions within DPS that were in that plan. So we don't typically draft position titles when we're putting folks into the 1998 special plan, but anything goes in the biennial budget. And so that's what ended up being in there. So LD 2085, the bill before you, would include the positions in the Department of Public Safety of Emergency Communications Director, Emergency Communications Specialist, Programs Coordinator. So 2 new position titles. There was testimony at the public hearing that suggested that an individual in a covered position who took a new position, which is not listed in the 1998 special plan, would not be covered. And the bill seeks to remedy that. I would note that this only applies to dispatchers within DPS, so within the positions that are specified. It would not cover dispatchers or anyone else that's in a municipality or participating local district. And just as a way of reminder, the 1998 special plan, a member can retire one of 2 ways: by accruing 25 years, that typo should not be accusing, by accruing 25 years of service in a covered capacity, or by accruing 10 years under the 1998 special plan or attaining age 55. So the committee should consider adding an effective date sort of just like I mentioned in the previous bill, maybe August 1st of 2026. I think given the way that it's drafted and sort of how the bill itself just sort of plops those positions into that paragraph, I think it will need a rewrite. But I don't think I think it's more technical than substantive. So I'm happy to work with with Maine PERS if you want me to proceed in that manner. We did receive testimony, and we do have a preliminary fiscal note that there's actually no UAL cost because the individual that would benefit from this is already in the 1998 special plan. So those it would just be ongoing normal costs that would be for that position because the individual is already in the 1998 special plan. So that person's benefits are essentially already accounted for. I'm happy to try to answer any questions.
All right. And I wonder if Mr. Brown could join us again. And questions from committee members. So just to remind us all, this is the one where we had Mr. Labby speak on this, and he was in the perhaps unenviable position of being the only person that this would affect. I guess my only question is, I understand the argument here on, having people continue on in their service and attain these positions and continue with the same retirement. Is that generally done in other areas covered by the special plan when you're moving from a position that might be considered an employee to management?
Let me say first that this bill was brought forward by the Department of Public Safety.
Yep.
Not by us. I am unfamiliar with, at this point, how the committee and the stakeholders involved decide which positions will be moved.
So I get that, and I'm not, asking you to speak on behalf of this bill, but I just wanted to ask in general practice. I mean, are there a lot of positions that are perhaps with a similar title that are included in the special plan in other contexts, directors or managers?
With my limited experience, no, but I would want to, but I would want, before you hold me to that, I would want to do more research.
Okay. We also have the bill sponsor here, and happy to field questions here. All right. Well, thank you. I'm just going to give you Representative a chance if you'd like to say anything on this one. Oh, we'll have to hit the mic there.
Good afternoon, Representative Steve Bunker, audit chairs and members. I sponsored this on behalf of the Department of Public Safety. People that are more detailed on this than I are behind me representing the commission themselves, but you are correct. The analysis is correct. This is a very narrow piece of legislation. It affects one person in one position that's been going through the process to make it here for some time. I would just reaffirm my support from this is important to have it included. And I would look to Maine PERS to figure out the exact language to capture that particular position. But Ms. Graham is here on behalf of the commissioner that could perhaps give more background to it.
All right. Thank you. I see Ms. Graham and also Michael Labby. Is that right? And thank you for your testimony before. I think, Ms. Graham, if you're the one here on behalf of the department, we'll invite you up just to get your take as well. Although we don't seem to have many questions today.
Hopefully that means I could just have a lot of it. Thank you, Senator Tipping. My name is Rebecca Graham. I'm the Director of Policy and Legislative Affairs for the Department of Public Safety and the Maine State Police. And if I could just maybe answer one of your questions a little bit. It's unusual in the sphere of Department of Public Safety for someone to move into a role that is other than a gubernatorial appointment, for instance, command staff, and lose their retirement benefits. And that is part of the reason why the commissioner has actually started and has been working on this since long before Director Labby was even in this position. He was in an unenviable place, but at the time that we started this legislation, he was not, there wasn't even an opening. So while he is the benefit, one of the things that the Department of Public Safety believes is that this particular piece of legislation honors the commitment to the individuals who have been in that sphere and assures that they're going to actually be able to recruit from within for that greater ability without causing a punitive benefit, basically, by moving into that, losing the special retirement plan. There are a number of individuals that have given a significant amount of time to the Department of Public Safety in that role, and Director Labby happens to be one of them who has chosen to move into that role that has still the same obligations. He is still a dispatcher for all intents and purposes. He can still fill in. He still has the same credentials. He has greater responsibility, but now he potentially has less of a retirement benefit for that. So that's functionally what we're hoping to achieve. And as has been pointed out, it's just a rarity that it was called out by specific positions. And we were looking at trying to create different positions and continually kind of bumping into this. Well, if we create it and it's not in there, folks would lose their retirement benefits to move into those spheres. So we're trying to find some ways to level that playing field.
Thank you for preemptively answering my question there. But just to clarify, you're saying that in other cases where there's a transition to a management position, those are generally covered by the 98 special retirement plan as well?
Correct. The majors of the state police would be an example of that. Lieutenant colonel and colonel also don't lose their retirement benefits because they move into those confidential positions.
Any questions from committee members? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any more discussion questions on this bill? All right, we'll move to our last piece of legislation, LD 2145.
LD 2145, sponsored by Senator Tipping on behalf of the Maine Public Employees Retirement System. It's an act to decrease offsets to disability retirement benefits. So under current law, Maine PERS administers a disability retirement program, which we just heard about. It serves members who are permanently unable to work but are not yet ready or eligible to start their service retirement benefit. The amount of the benefit that's available through Maine PERS is 59% of a member's average final compensation, which is a statutory definition that means the average of the 3 highest years of Maine PERS covered compensation. If the member receives or has received a workers' compensation payment for that same disability, the law currently requires that the disability benefit be reduced so that the two benefits combined do not exceed 80% of the member's pre-disability compensation. So the bill before you would increase the amount that recipients can receive before that offset applies from 80% to 100% of the member's AFC, which would allow for full income replacement. The other section of the bill is eliminating the requirements that benefits paid under participating local districts for disabilities must be offset for Social Security benefits received for the same disability. So currently, the PLD program uses a term defined in statute called the average annual earnings, and you can see it in the footnote below. So the bill before you would change using AAE to using AFC in PLDs. AAE, that very specific term that's defined at the bottom of the page, is not used in the state teacher plan. And so the use of AFC instead of AAE aligns the PLD plan with the state and teacher plan. The preliminary fiscal impact statement has not officially been determined. Maine PERS did testify that there are some UAL costs that will be up for consideration if the committee goes forward with the bill. So for the state employees and teachers plan, that UAL cost will be about $1.7 million, and PLDs would be about $1.3 million amortized over 20 years. And the caveat with the PLD is that the advisory committee has to choose to adopt the provisions, so. Happy to try to answer any questions, and we can make Mr. Brown come up here for a final jaunt. To
Be wrong if we didn't. Are there questions first to Mr. Lang? I would invite Mr. Brown back.
Good afternoon, Bill Brown from Maine Purse.
Questions from committee members? Senator Bradstreet.
Thank you. Do you know what the reason is that one group uses the AFC and the other uses the AAE, or AFC and AAE? Was that negotiated at some point in time, or is that just something that happened?
I can't say definitively, but my assumption is that it is the latter. That this is how the program's evolved. But I'm happy to explore that more.
Representative Drinkwater.
Thank you, Senator. I'm going to feign ignorance here. So they pay for this disability program through Maine Purse. And if they're hurt on the job, workman's comp will cover the injury. So they could collect from two sources. And you're saying that we need to reduce what they're collecting from workman's comp. How am I doing so far?
No, I would say that current law creates an offset of disability retirement income for workers' comp. And that what LD 21 and 45 seeks to do is reduce that offset.
Okay, so that affirms what I'm thinking, is that you can actually collect from two policies. 'Cause
Yes.
workman's comp obviously will pay you a percentage of what you were earning. And they're also paid for medical, whereas disability just replaces your lost income.
It is a form of income replacement.
Thanks.
And so just to be clear on that, right now, the law requires that the benefit be reduced so that combined they don't exceed 80% of the pre-disability compensation.
Of the pre-disability, either AAE or AFC.
Or AFC.
Yeah.
And this goes to AFC and it applies to, and it moves it from 80 to 100%.
Yes.
So are there any cases where someone would be receiving less of a benefit under this?
No, I don't believe so. We examined the accounts of everyone who is currently receiving a disability benefit as well as workers' compensation, and there was no one who is negatively impacted by this change.
Senator Bradstreet.
Thank you. The PLDs, are they bound by law then, whatever the Maine Purse comes up with? In other words, if this is adopted, they would be forced to adopt this.
No, the participating local district plans have the ability to determine for themselves what can be adopted. Just as last year with the repeal of the Social Security offset, they had to vote to go forward with that themselves.
More questions for Mr. Brown? Representative Skoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Brown. As drafted and if enacted, who would this apply to all? Would this change apply to all current participants in the who are currently getting the disability payments, or would it, or just a subset of them, or to future, or would it apply to all current?
Current and future.
Current and future. Okay.
Additional questions? Any discussion on this bill?
Sorry about that question.
Please ask me as many questions that you have the answers for in front of you.
I'll also say there's a number of bills here covering similar areas that may easily get confused. So we appreciate the questions and the clarification there. All right.
And if,
Go ahead.
if I may, the bill that had a public hearing today, there was a lot of reference to this, to the provisions in this bill as well. And that's there. I just wanted to raise again that those things are attempted to be addressed in this bill as well.
All right. Well, I'll just open up one more time before we caucus here for discussion on this. Be interested if anyone would like to say where they're leaning on these issues. Representative Scobell.
If I could ask this, as Mr. Brown brought up the other bill, in relation, this was submitted by Maine PERS. Would you be able to characterize the reason that there's kind of two bills?
Yes, frankly, this bill has a fiscal note that would need to be addressed in order to make this change. And the other changes do not, and I wouldn't want to imperil one good thing for something else.
Thank you.
All right. Any additional discussion, questions on this? All right.
Thank you.
I think we'll take brief recess. All right, welcome back to this meeting of the Joint Standing Committee on Labor. We return to our work session on 4 bills. We'll begin with LD 2022. The Chair would recognize Representative Geiger for the purpose of making a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion for LD 2022 ought to pass.
All right, straightforward, ought to pass. Is there a second? Representative Collins seconds. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'd ask our clerk to take the roll.
I have the motion ought to pass made by Rep. Geiger and second by Rep. Collins. Senator Tipping?
Yes.
Senator Tipping, yes. Rep. Rader?
Yes.
Rep. Rader, yes. Rep. Archer?
Aye.
Rep. Archer, yes. Rep. Skold?
Yes.
Rep. Skold, yes. Senator Bradstreet?
Yes.
Senator Bradstreet, yes. Rep. Drinkwater?
Yes.
Rep. Drinkwater, yes. Rep. Geiger?
Yes.
Rep. Geiger, yes. Rep. Beck?
Yes.
Rep. Beck, yes. Rep. Macias?
Yes.
Rep. Macias, yes. Rep. Collins?
Yes.
Rep. Collins, yes. Rep. Sobolewski?
Yes.
Rep. Sobolewski, yes. Unanimous of all those present.
Thank you very much. We'll move next to LD 2067. And feel free to stay near the podium if that's easier for you. And I'd ask Representative Beck to be recognized for the purpose of making a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On LD 2067, I move ought to pass as amended, the amendments being the dates and the title change.
All right, and that is as discussed during a work session, Mr. Langland.
So is that with the sort of description of the duties as well as the title?
Yes. Yes.
All right, is there a second to that motion? Representative Geiger seconds. Is there discussion? Representative Drinkwater.
Thank you, Senator. Senator, this has a lot of understanding that, we had the Riverview situation. But some of us, and I'd be one of them, do not feel that this is the same as what we witnessed with Riverview. And some of the thoughts, my own thoughts behind this is that there are other jobs. If they're that unhappy, they could have applied and they could move on. And then some of the argument was, well, we're vested in the Maine State Retirement. Well, yes, you are vested, but also Maine State Retirement, to their credit, allows you to take your money out in lump sum and move it somewhere else. So this is going to be a divided report, and some of us will not be supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Drinkwater. Senator Bradstreet.
Yes, thank you. Boy, I certainly understand a lot of the merits of this bill. I also will be opposing it for the reasons stated by Representative Drinkwater. I'm also concerned about how it fits in with the big picture here about how many other groups we may be moving into a special plan looking forward. And once we kind of cross the Rubicon, it's hard to go back. So I see the benefits of it, but reluctantly, I will be voting against it. Thank you.
Additional discussion, Representative Beck.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be supporting the motion. These workers may not be directly equivalent to workers at Riverview. I understand Representative Drinkwater's argument on that, but their jobs are extremely stressful, at great personal risk. I can see that it would seem to me a job that could lead to a lot of safety concerns, emotional distress, burnout. I think they're absolutely appropriate for the 1998 special plan. Thank you.
Additional discussion. Well, I'd just like to say on this one that in terms of the traditional positions covered by the 98 special plan, including those institutional workers, was absolutely merited, but it was the diversion from the norm. You know, these positions that have been covered have more often been first responders, including police and fire. And for me, the work that these people are doing as community crisis workers absolutely fits within the intent of the creation of that plan, absolutely within the stress that those positions experience, and in fact, you know, are often coming to the same situations, the same homes, dealing with the same people as those other first responders, except that they don't have a weapon, and they often, as we heard, don't have backup. So I am going to be absolutely supporting this, and I think this is an unfortunate, unrecognized aspect of our crisis response and of our first responders in Maine. And the very least we can do is support them in their retirement. All right, having said my rant, is there any more discussion on this bill?
Oh, I'll give one.
Senator Bradstreet.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Senator. I also think that, you know, sometimes when we're doing these things with a retirement plan, we're not addressing the underlying problem, and that's the issues that they have in their work situation, and something needs to be done there. I really believe something needs to be done substantive, so they don't have to go through all this. Thank you.
Representative Barr.
I wasn't going to mention it. I wasn't intending to speak the second time. What was brought out also in the testimony that we heard, that funding for training was cut. And we feel that that should be restored, and more training is always good.
Thank you, Representative Drinker. I also was not going to speak again, but I'll just say in response to those that that's absolutely true, and they're making that request. But what they came here to ask of us and this committee is specifically the recognition of their work and the stress that they undergo within the retirement system. And that's what they are asking for. And I think that's what we need to do for them. All right. Any other discussion on this one? With that, I'll ask our clerk to call the roll.
I have the motion ought to pass as amended, made by Rep. Beck and second by Rep. Geiger. Senator Tipping?
Yes.
Senator Tipping, yes. Rep. Rader? Yes. Rep. Rader, yes. Rep. Archer?
Aye.
Rep. Archer, yes. Rep. Scold?
Yes.
Rep. Scold, yes. Senator Bradstreet?
No.
Senator Bradstreet, no. Rep. Drinkwater?
No.
Rep. Drinkwater, no. Rep. Geiger?
Yes.
Rep. Geiger, yes. Rep. Beck?
Yes.
Rep. Beck, yes. Rep. Macias?
Yes.
Rep. Macias, yes. Rep. Collins?
Yes.
Rep. Collins, yes. Rep. Sobolewski?
No.
Rep. Sobolewski, no.
And the minority report
On not to pass.
on not to pass for everyone.
All right, we move next to LD 2085. Chair would recognize Representative School for the purpose of making a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On LD 2085, I make the motion ought to pass.
Ought to pass has been moved. Is there a second? Representative Rader seconds. Discussion on this motion. Senator Bradstreet.
Thank you. Yeah, this is certainly a bill I want to support. One of the concerns that some of us have is that I think we need to really make sure that it's narrowed so that it fits this one situation right now that we heard about earlier when we had the public hearing, and also today earlier in the work session. I'd like to put some type of amendment in there which would do that. And I would be wholly supportive of that if we could do that if we could come up with some language that would work that way. I'm not sure if our analyst has any ideas right now. Because when we kind of mention this position, who knows that somewhere down the road they may have something else with the same name, and we have some unintended consequences. That's the only reservations I have about it at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Bradstreet. Is there any amendment you'd propose on that, or you just want to make sure that's something we consider in the future?
Well, I know we suggested a date, 8/1/26. I'm not sure if we could put a, 8/1/26 to 8/31/26 or anything like that, if that would work.
So, couple things. So the motion was just straight ought to pass. No.
So Representative Skold, I think that was straight out to pass. I think you did recommend a changing of the date, however. Would that be friendly, Representative Skold?
Yes, I'm seeing that, that asking us to consider an effective date. That would be a friendly amendment.
So the effective date is a friendly amendment. I think Senator Bradstreet is proposing
Yep.
kind of an end date as well. My concern about that would be that we heard testimony that this is a, an issue that might often reoccur, that people are being promoted from within in these positions and would be in exactly the same spot. And in fact, it was, proposed before there was this exact circumstance. So I guess I wouldn't want to limit it in that way if we've identified it as an issue.
The only thing I can think of is you could put in general language about, I don't know, somebody who performs dispatcher duties within the Department of Public Safety or something, and that would potentially cover somebody in the future, maybe, who would become, be promoted from one position to another. That way you wouldn't necessarily be, but I'm just thinking on the
So
fly
it's not
here, and
someone
I thought-
coming in from a different covered position.
Right, right. So you wouldn't have to worry about sort of adding the position titles each time, but I'm thinking about this on the fly, so it's never good.
You are thinking about on the fly. I don't see an obvious problem with that. Would that fit your concern, Senator Bradstreet? Okay.
Yes, it
And
would. I would, I'm not sure if we need to under language review or something like that, but.
we will have an opportunity to do language review on that. Let me ask first, Representative Skold, would that be friendly to your motion?
No, but I'm lacking understanding of what exactly that changes. I'm just trying to look at the language.
So I believe the proposal is to make some provision here that this is only for that they continue eligibility under the 98 special plan only if they're being promoted from another position within that agency doing that work. So it's not someone coming in that's been a firefighter for a county somewhere and doing this, but if they've been a dispatcher and they're continuing to do some dispatch role, that they would have that.
So the amendment would be
continuation.
that this is effective for individuals who are already in the 1998 special plan being promoted to these positions.
In the plan and specifically within this this area of work.
Well, if they were in the plan, but a firefighter, but coming into this position, they should also not have their retirement docked.
That can be a contention here.
So I would say, yes, I would be a friendly amendment for clarifying that they have to have already been in the 1998 special plan. If they're being promoted, they don't lose that.
Okay. All right, so we have that motion made and seconded. We have a potential amendment here. Would you like to make that as a formal amendment, or would you like to have some more discussion here? Senator Bradstreet.
I'd admit it's a formal amendment,
Okay,
please.
amendment has been made. Is there a second on the amendment? Representative Drinkwater seconds on that. We're now discussing an amendment to the
Can
motion.
someone articulate this again? Sorry.
Well, you're the one who proposed it, so.
Well, I guess I was thinking about it so I thought Senator Bradstreet's concern was about, we don't want to be coming back here in the future to just put positions in.
Okay.
So I was thinking, if that was your concern, maybe it isn't, maybe I'm misunderstanding now, but rather than having to add the positions each time, you could just make it so that somebody wouldn't lose eligibility if they were still doing something, I don't know, dispatcher related within the same office. So you wouldn't have to necessarily come back and have to consider one of these bills every single time. I don't know if that was what your concern was, but.
Yes, so.
That would work for me if it can be language to that effect.
But the practical effect there is that would also then limit if someone was coming in that was already a member of the 98 special plan to that position from a different area.
I don't know off the top of my head how that would work.
I guess it would depend the exact way it was written.
Perhaps, yeah.
Because if you're talking about
look into
the
that,
way
yeah.
the way it was phrased is continuing work,
Right. I'm happy to to work on language with main PERS and
So this is
DPS.
also something that perhaps might be, might benefit from a tabling motion, and we could bring it up in another work session. Representative Beck.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move that we table this to a later date.
Is there a second? Tabling Representative Collins, all those in favor? It's unanimous of those present, and we'll work on figuring that one out. And thank you, Senator Bradstreet, for figuring that out. I would like to note that we on this committee are proud to spend just as much or more time on the $2,000 bills as the $1.7 million ones. All right. Next, we have LD 2145. The chair would recognize Representative Macias.
Thank you. I make a motion ought to pass with amendment to increase benefits to 100% plus COLA increases.
So the bill increases it to 100%, and you would add a cost of living increase based on the CPI. You there to the AFC?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion? Representative Beck seconds. Discussion? Senator Bradstreet.
Thank you. Here's another thing that I would like to see if we could come together on. It's currently at 80%. I don't really have any problem with the CPI. Maybe I should, but I don't. What I would rather like to see is if we could come at a figure like at 90%. That way we're not biting off all of it at one time. We have another bill coming up which may have some effect on this, and this may have some effect on the other bill. I'd rather see a more measured response in this bill. So I would offer that as amendment if it would work, if the people are amenable to that. We'll see where that goes. So I would propose that as an amendment, 90% instead of 100%, instead of removing it. Thank you.
Proposing 90%. Discussion. He said he was fine with COLA, although maybe he shouldn't be. I believe were the words used. Representative Drinkwater.
I think the bottom line here is we want to get this funded. And as we know, our priority lists, like we found out with Riverview, if we all put this down as number one, the chances are that it's going to get funded and passed. So we were happy at 90%. Like the good senator said, that we have this other bill that we also want to tinker with. And we need to try to find that I'm going to call it the sweet spot, because we want people to go back to work, but yet we don't want them to go behind in their bills. So where is that happy place? Well, we don't know. But I think this is a good attempt at our proposed on 90% to get us all to agree to get it through appropriations. Thank you.
Additional discussion. I guess I would just say on that I absolutely agree that the important thing here is for the benefit of these retirees, if we can find a way to help them, and that involves obviously getting something not just passed, but funded. This does have a significant fiscal note here. I do feel, however, that 100%, there's a certain obvious logical element to people not being penalized from receiving both benefits beyond the amount they'd be making otherwise. Where 100% makes more sense to me than 80 or 90, but I agree that, this is an area that I'm glad there's at least some agreement and that we want to get it funded. Representative Skoll.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And there was also testimony that perhaps even 100% would be insufficient because those with the disabilities get their costs increase, and their pay continues the same. There was the number that was suggested 128%. So I would be comfortable to agree on 100% with the COLA. I would love to support a unanimous report if we can get there. But given that I don't think I could go under 100.
Chances are it's not going to get funded. Off the record.
Would you like to put any remarks on the record, Representative Drinkwater? Okay.
Sure.
Just want to give the
Again, I want to
opportunity.
reiterate, as we did with Riverview, we all had unanimous bill. We all put down as our top priority. It got funded. If you want a really good shot at this getting funded, let's compromise. And maybe we need to caucus again, but I think we should work hard to come out with a unanimous report on this one. And we also need to tinker with the other bill that will be coming up next week. Thank you.
So what I'm hearing, we have a motion for 100% plus a COLA. Heard from at least one member that they would not support 90% for unanimity there, but that we appreciate there's support for that. Any other discussion on this one? Representative Archer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've a question is main person still here? I've got this. Yep, I've got this big giant pole in the way. Do we happen to have just an estimated average of the average payout? I want to know what the difference between 80%, what is the difference between 80 and 90%, 80 and 100%? Are we talking $500 a month? Are we talking $200 a month?
I could bring that to I'm sorry.
Yep.
Hi, Bill Brown, main purse. Representative Archer, I could bring that to a future work session if that's information you want.
Because I'd like to know what the actual impact on our individuals needing this, what that would be. Are we talking pennies? Are we talking car payments, house payments, things like that?
So I'm hearing from folks around the horseshoe that maybe there are some lines where we're close, but we're not going to fully agree here. Maybe there's some also requests for more information. I would be happy to either take the vote now if we feel there's not going to be that kind of agreement, or table if we think that more discussion should be had here or more information is needed. Representative Archer.
Just for discussion at the moment, but what about a 95% plus COLA? No, I mean, again.
All right. I appreciate this. Representative Archer has proposed splitting the baby in half. No, meeting in the middle, I should say. Is there discussion with that in mind as well? Representative Skoll.
Notwithstanding my assertion that I wouldn't go under 100, if we could get a unanimous report, I could do 95% plus COLA.
All right. We are now fully into horse trading mode. I would recognize Representative Drinkwater for his thoughts on the matter.
Can we take a 3-minute caucus?
All right. We'll caucus for 3 minutes. All right, we are returned to our work session. The motion on the table is, actually, I'm informed, ought to pass because the language does explicitly, include the COLA increase in benefits on the AFC. So we have that before us. Is there continued discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, I will ask our clerk to take the roll. Representative
It's not the amendment or-
Macias's motion.
Not the amendment.
So-
Second on the amendment.
I'm.
No, can I clarify what we're voting on and if there are any other proposals?
So we didn't hear any. We're voting on the bill as written at this point. At 100%. I'm not seeing any other proposals. Representative Geiger.
I think the bill included a COLA, so aren't we adding
It
that?
does include.
Oh, it does.
We have confirmed.
Oh, sorry.
All right, so there was discussion of 95%. I feel like maybe not getting there as a whole committee, but we'll see where we get there in the future. I'd ask the clerk to take the roll.
I have the motion ought to pass made by Rep. Macias and second by Rep. Beck. Senator Tipping.
Yes.
Senator Tipping, yes. Rep. Rader.
Yes.
Rep. Rader, yes. Rep. Archer.
Aye.
Rep. Archer, yes. Rep. Schold.
Yes.
Rep. Schold, yes. Senator Bradstreet.
No.
Senator Bradstreet, no. Rep. Drinkwater.
No.
Rep. Drinkwater, no. Rep. Geiger.
Yes.
Rep. Geiger, yes. Rep. Beck.
Yes.
Rep. Beck, yes. Rep. Macias.
Yes.
Rep. Macias, yes. Rep. Collins.
No.
Rep. Collins, no. Rep. Sobolewski.
No.
Rep. Sobolewski, no.
Minority report.
Minority report would be like the majority report except 90%.
90%?
Yeah.
Okay. And is
With the
that for
COLA.
everyone? On that report? Okay.
Thank you very much to our clerk. Mr. Langland, is there other committee business before us?
I actually have a language review. It's actually Sophie's, but I thought where I'm gonna be here, and this one's not too complicated, so don't beat up on me. This one's actually one that I think you just considered recently, you reconsidered recently, LD 2035. And that is an act to increase the fee cap for the Board of Licensing of Auctioneers. You basically are changing it from 200, I think, to 300. Initially, the bill was 200 to 400, but then you had a divided report, and then you came back, and then you reconsidered it, and you unanimously agreed to change it to 300.
Okay. And so the only change is that one number.
Yep.
Okay. Any discussion on that one? Representative Drinkwater.
Thank you, Senator. Again, just clarifying that this gives them the right to go to 300. Doesn't mean they're necessarily going to do it, but they have that option. They're going to auction that off, apparently.
Couldn't let that one pass. All right. Sounds good from those on that report. And any other items?
Nope.
All right. Any other committee business? Seeing none, we are adjourned.